Okay, I'll just stop the video now.
Welcome to a winning cup with Win. And today with me, I have Teresa, and I'm going to let Miss Teresa take it away and share her story. And we'll just have a natural conversation like we always do.
Thank you so much for having me. It's very special that you allow me to be on and chat with you. I feel very honored. So I am Tessa. I'm from the Netherlands. And don't worry, a lot of people think I'm Teresa. So you're not the only one. I get that all the time. No, that's good.
Geez. I screw up. Maybe it's the unique name club here.
Lots of people say Teresa, and I actually like the names. I don't mind at all. So I am originally from the Netherlands, moved all around the world, kind of looking for who I was and what my purpose was, and ended up in New Zealand with my fiance now, where I, after becoming quite depressed, I don't like the word, but I couldn't get out of bed anymore because I had this need to help people and I didn't know how to do that. And only when I became a coach did that truly feel like I was impacting people's lives and I could make a difference by showing them the power they have inside of them. So I never want to try and make it too long about me, but yeah, that's who I am and that's what I do.
So, what, and no taboo subjects is off subject here. You guys know that by now. But what made you fall into depression in the first place and then have a awakening, so to speak?
Hmm. I think when we are not doing what our soul knows we're supposed to be doing, there's is emotional tension happening inside of us. So a lot of people will have the same feelings, they're just not recognizing it. So they're doing a job they don't enjoy, or they're just stuck in a routine they don't enjoy, in a life they don't enjoy, and they end up being completely like unmotivated, burned out, and we have a lot of different names for it. And I realized I started becoming really lethargic. I just wasn't the same person anymore. I wasn't happy. Like literally, my fiance making me fart, or like farting would like make me cry, and I just wasn't the right person. So that is really what, when I realized that I needed to change. And oftentimes it's called a breaking point. So our souls actually bring us to a point where we have to change something, that we cannot continue. So that is where I was. And that's how I realized I need to find these answers. Otherwise, I just don't know what my life's going to look like.
Well, you guys, I didn't want to admit this to you, but I my original breaking point was in 2019. And after I lost my father, then got over that breaking point, and then I had another breaking point of, not to say that I don't love doing this podcast, but I hit another breaking point of not being in alignment with my soul. My soul wanted me to teach about disabilities and through my podcast, but my brain said, oh, no, you don't. You interview entrepreneurs, you interview coaches, you interview, and then I'm like, forget this. I'll just do what I do originally and then add the disability piece on top of it. And I just came over that breaking point months ago, I would say now, a month ago now, because I didn't realize what my true calling was until I was sitting in a networking app slash networking meetings, and people would say I'm a full-time content creator with the purpose of serving people with disabilities and educating the able, the body, the belt, the disabled. And people said to me, I love your story. I love your story. I love your story. So
Mm,
I think that when we kind of hit our validation point of, okay, this is something now that is out in the universe. This is something that also is meant to do.
so true. And I think it's an ever evolving story, right? As we grow personally and spiritually, we maybe our focus will shift or our purpose will shift, but just being in that alignment just gets everything to flow. And I love it that you say, like, screw this, I'm just going to do this because it feels aligned with me. So I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I I literally said, okay, after a million times of hearing in this networking app, by the way, networking app is called Clubhouse on iOS. And
I
so,
wish I had an iPhone. It's so
yes,
unfair.
okay, okay. Yes, you're the first person that said that publicly. Yes, iOS Clubhouse. Don't ask why iOS only got Clubhouse, and I'm waiting for my Android friends
Yeah.
to get on Clubhouse, but so far not so good on that one as we record this on March 9th of 2021. We are still in beta on Clubhouse, but after my point being is after sitting in a bunch of rooms on Clubhouse, figuring out what I was supposed to do when
Mm,
people said to me, I love your story, I love your story. And I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to
awesome.
teach solo entrepreneurs how the disabled works, just in case they come across them in their daily lives, or for those of us who are lucky that can hold a job, they can actually hire us and then learn from me about how to deal with said disability.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. And it's so amazing. Everybody has a unique purpose, and you stepping into yours just makes other people's lives very different.
well, well, thank you for saying that. Now, Tessa, um, who do you coach, and what made you, well, I know what made you decide to coach, but what made you decide to go into the niche that you're in?
Mm. It's funny because everybody talks about niching and like that's what you have to do to grow your business. And I've tried that, but God just kept throwing like completely opposite people towards me. So I said, instead of having a specific avatar, I just want to help people that have a need to make a change. So that feel like they are put on this planet to have an impact, and but what for some whatever reason their limiting beliefs or their negative mental chatter is holding them back. And that is where I stop my niche. I don't care if you are male or female, if you are 80 years old or if you're 20 years old. If you feel like you are created to make a change in this world, and if you feel like somehow you haven't achieved that yet, then I would love to help you.
Okay, so Tessa is a change maker, you guys. Tessa is the change maker. And what made you move after moving all around the world, including the US? What made you move to the beautiful country of New Zealand?
Um, no, it sounds horrible. I was living in South Africa and I absolutely loved it. South Africa has my heart and it's beautiful. The people are beautiful, but it also has its issues and it's quite corrupt. So I could not get a visa for the life of me. So I had to leave the country, and I was really sad about that. And I was just upset and frustrated, and I pitied myself for a long time for some silly reason. Um, so I had to go back to the Netherlands, and I just like, no, this is not where I'm meant to be. So I kept looking, And then my now fiance is the gentleman who I met at a wedding, and he's like, I know this is gonna sound crazy. I'm gonna move to New Zealand. Why don't you just come with? Because you also don't want to stay where you are at. And that's what we did. So that is
So
about 2.5 years ago.
you chased love at another person's wedding, and
Yeah.
love made you do it. Oh boy. Yeah. Well, I almost, me as an American citizen, I almost got stuck in the position. I won't get into it until a couple of weeks from now when I'm in a safer spot to get into it. But I, like you, almost got, I don't want to say shipped, but I will say shipped. I, like you, almost got shipped to a very corrupt country, which I couldn't get a work visa to save my life if I decided to stay there. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that because um, the country of the Bahamas is, and for those of you who've been around me long enough, you know my family's from the Bahamas and living in the Bahamas. But like Tessa said, these countries nowadays are very corrupt, and it's hard for immigrants to get work visas.
Yep.
And so I feel like, yeah, make it easier, make it easy on what we're trying to do. Don't complicate the matter by complicating matter with work visa.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Even though we want to maybe be somewhere, be able to visit, it's just not always possible.
No, it's definitely not always possible. And so, Tessa, what excites you about doing life again after the pandemic?
What excites me after the pandemic?
Yes.
Well, we are so blessed here, Win. You don't understand. So, New Zealand actually doesn't currently have COVID. So, it's always difficult for us to say, but we can't leave the country really at the moment. And that is what we are praying and believing for because, and as we'll talk about a bit later, my fiance's mother has bulbar palsy and she's not doing very well. So we really want to go visit her and spend time with her. Um, and that's not possible at the moment without spending absolutely thousands of dollars on quarantine. So that is what we are looking forward to, that one day we're able to travel again and see our family. My family's in the Netherlands, his family's in South Africa, all my friends are in South Africa. So yeah, that is what we're looking forward to
Travel,
one day.
travel basically, but you're living in a spot that has no COVID. So you're looking at me like, you're nuts because you don't, New Zealanders don't understand, and I knew this going in, but New Zealanders don't understand what COVID is because you guys
Mhm.
have it. You guys are
So true.
very, very lucky, and I am incredibly blessed to you guys. As we record this, I am fully vaccinated for COVID myself. So I am fully vaccinated and I am incredibly blessed. So I feel like I now looking at where I was today a year ago, I'm like, how in the world am I gonna get through this? But now, a year later, I'm fully vaccinated and I'm talking to Tessa, who is sitting in New Zealand that doesn't even have COVID. And so we're two incredibly blessed women as we record this, but it's hard because family and travel. So yeah, you want to travel.
Yeah, no, that is, and you don't realize that how far away you are until that becomes a problem. But who knew about COVID, right? So you can't wait for that.
Who knew about who knew about COVID? Who knew that COVID was going to become a world pandemic, so you can't wait on that. And so if you had to meet a person dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I'm gonna say such a cheesy one, but it would have to be Jesus, because if I could just witness like the healings he did and like how he just band people together and people were just drawn to him and having him walk on water, if I could see any of those things, that'd be pretty cool.
That's not cheesy at all. That's not cheesy at all. Now, if you had to walk in another person's shoes, let's say for 2 weeks, who would it be and why? And yes, they can also be dead or alive.
No, that would have to be my dad, and why I say that is because he has far advanced Alzheimer's, and you don't know what it's like because you can't communicate with him. So just to understand what he is able to understand, or what he maybe still registers, or what, just knowing that his life is good, that he, even though he can't communicate it with us, that he is still happy somehow or whatever. So yeah, that's the one person I would love to just walk in his shoes so I could understand.
So you would love to do a cultural immersion with with your dad. Well, I've been thinking about this. I would have loved to do a cultural immersion with my dad when he got diagnosed with lung cancer. I want to
Oh yeah.
see what um, he went through because I saw it as a witness, and my God, it broke my heart. It literally broke my heart. And I would like to see what a true lung cancer patient goes through, or anyone other than a patient with cerebral palsy goes through, because um, I need to do more cultural immersions about different disabilities.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's just like, and I think there's so many cases where I think the world would be a better place if we could do that, so we could understand each other so much better.
Exactly. Exactly. I hear you right there. And so, do you have any questions for me, Tessa? And then do you can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Definitely. And I have a very important question for you because, as I mentioned, my mother-in-law to be, she has bulbar palsy. And at the moment, she's just so anxious because she feels like she might choke at any time. And even though she used to be the most positive person that we know, she now has almost, I don't want to say giving up, she's not giving up, but she has a feeling of depression on her. So what is your experience? You've spoken to so many people. Can we do anything, or is not doing anything the best? And how can we like place ourselves in her shoes? What's going on?
Well, from my perspective with cerebral palsy, I'm going to say it bluntly. I'm going to say it bluntly. Until we ask for help, don't automatically assume that we need help.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that bluntly. And I want you to just keep the memories alive, keep everything going, keep everything going, and have her have a conversation with her family or with her extended family, you guys, because mother-in-law to be is your fiance's mom. So have her just, I don't want to say quit focusing on the disability, but I guess I do. Just have her quit focusing on the disability, because if you focus on the disability too much, in my case, cerebral palsy, you won't ever get anywhere. And so I am willing and able to, and this goes for anyone listening, I am willing and able to teach people about what it's like having a disability. I am willing and able to coach people about what it's like having a disability. I'm willing and able to coach solo entrepreneurs too on how to deal with the disabled. Um, and so I would say, Tessa, that you should not let her give up. And I know that's a tricky situation right now because we don't know when we're going to get that phone call of, okay, you guys need to get over here. And I know with COVID, it's a little bit tricky, but I I don't know if you could Google dual her. I'm trying to think on the end. Sorry about this, you guys. I don't I don't know if you could Zoom her just to say, hey mom, tell me a story. And just to distract her
Mm,
a little bit from the disability aspect, because um, distracting a person from the disability aspects is something that I wish someone had told me. And when I didn't find out the complexities of my own disability until 2020, after I had a tragic loss in 2019. Also, after I got emotionally and physically abused, I finally put the bravery stick up and asked why, because I was getting to the point of depression and getting to the point where I didn't want to get up and out of bed
mm,
every day and ask for help and all that good jazz. And so I finally put the bravery stick up and said, what is cerebral palsy? Can someone explain it to me? And then they explained it to me after I went through emotional and physical abuse, and I'm emotional and physical abuse survivor. And I want to make it clear it wasn't my stepsister, it wasn't my stepmom, it wasn't my aide that was working with me at the time who did the emotional and physical abuse.
mm.
It was actually a family member who I do not speak to anymore because
Yeah.
knows what she did. But sometimes you have to put the bravery stick up and just say, look, this is what you're going through, and this is how it could affect you. But
Mm,
at the same time, you want to distract the person from their own
mm,
disabilities, because
yeah.
I could go down a rabbit hole of depression, no tomorrow, and I don't know, and when I'm not a counselor, I wish I was, but I don't know if you could send her into counseling just to get that hope back.
Mm,
I
yeah.
mean, I don't,
Yeah, we have we're sharing, so we're doing like a lot of teachings like Bible studies together, because the added problem is that her bulbar palsy is in her throat, so she actually can't
okay,
speak. So
okay.
that is making it so difficult. I would love to go on and have conversations with her. We all would, because she used to be such a chatty person, and now her arm is not working, so she can't really type that great anymore. So those things complicate matters. But I think it's a great idea what you're saying, just try and distract her. So if we do get over there, just take her out in the
No,
wheelchair, do fun things,
just
and
do Zoom, just do Zoom. She doesn't need to necessarily speak on Zoom like you and I are doing. She just needs to have someone her up at the other end via Zoom, and you guys could talk to her and see what she can register as her disability progresses. And so it doesn't need to be this big, let's go jump in a wheelchair. It just needs to be, let's surround her with love. It doesn't need to be, let's go jump in a wheelchair. Let's
Okay.
take her out to lunch. Let's make a big show of it. It needs to be, let's surround the disabled person with love and see them for who they truly are and distract them. Because, as I said, we as disabled individuals, I know myself, could go into a emotional depression tailspin like there's no tomorrow if you let me.
Yeah. Wow. I think that is such a realization for us that we don't do Zoom because we don't want her to feel left out because she can't actually speak and be part of the conversation. But as you're putting it now, at least she gets to spend time with us together and she gets to be present.
Yeah, yeah, and so many people are doing Zoom nowadays anyway. You could just have a big family Zoom, just
Such a
have
good idea.
the caretaker set her up in a wheelchair. And my, I don't know if you guys know this, but my adopted grandma's 90, going to be 92.
Yeah.
And I'm going down to see adopted grandma in next week, actually. Next week
Oh,
I'm
wow.
going down to see adopted grandma. But adopted my adopted grandma loves family Zooms, and she's able to speak. Trust me, she's able to speak. And so putting your putting your fiance's mom on Zoom and just making, and I don't know if she has a touch device or how she communicates with her caregivers. I don't know that, but we can talk about that offline after the recording. And I can give you some ideas on how to interact with on Zoom. But it's all about making the disabled person feel loved and feel loved. And it's not necessarily making the big show about let's put her in a wheelchair, let's take her out, let's do this, let's do that. No, it's just about making the disabled person feel loved and wanted.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I think that is really a help for us that we know.
Yeah, no.
From your perspective, having seen so many cases, maybe the same as her, that not able to maybe communicate that easily, but just being there would be enough.
Well, yeah, I have I have friends with cerebral palsy. In fact, my BFF, who just turned 29, has a heavy speech impediment. So I understand she can communicate with me and everyone else, but that's because we hung out long enough to know our language or language. But I have seen enough of the disabled community that I know how to communicate with the disabled. And what I find fascinating is that people that can't speak, if you speak to them like a normal human, they will just light up. I have a friend that is nonverbal, and his aides, his caretakers get mad at me all the time because I go straight past them and communicate with him. And he just
That's
lights
awesome.
up like there's no tomorrow. He's like, finally, someone's talking to me instead of talking to my aide. So why don't you bring your mother-in-law on these family Zooms and just see how she does?
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, Win. Like,
Well,
this is truly the only question I had for you, and you've given me the most wonderful answer.
no,
Thank you
you
so
are so
much.
welcome. And where can the people find you?
Yes. So my website is called thevinedresser.com. Biblical thing, God is the vine dresser. And so I thought it would be beautiful because of what it stands for. Just pruning and cultivating and helping people have soil in which they can grow and prosper. That's pretty much it. So
Awesome.
thevinedresser.com, or on Instagram, it is thevinedresser.nz. So anywhere, I'm always around. So just drop me a message or just come and
Thank
check
you,
it out.
Tessa. Thank you. And I hope that you guys enjoyed another episode of A Winning Cup. And I hope that you guys have a beautiful day. And I hope that you guys learned a little bit of Tessa's story and of the question she point blank asked me. I hope that helped you guys. And I will catch you guys later. Bye, you guys. Thanks, you guys.